Oh, I was trying to pull something up.
That's fine.
My computer is a little slow. Sorry.
There's no rules here. Do whatever you want.
When you said that, I thought of Outback because it's no rules, just right. And I was like, dang, some chicken wings from there would be great.
I'm probably going to say that you're a nonprofit and business consultant.
Okay.
You all set?
I think so.
Got your hairs the way you want them?
No, I didn't think I was going to be on camera, so.
Yeah,
right.
that's okay. I'm in my PJs.
Yeah, but you can't tell.
Of course not. I'm a dude. Looks like our regular clothes because they're the same.
Yeah. True. All right. So I'm ready when you are, I think.
Hey, this is your host, Travis Johnson with the Nonprofit Architect, helping you build a stronger nonprofit. Hop to our link over on patreon.com/nonprofitarchitect. Throw us a few bucks a month. It won't break the bank, but it'll help us stay on the air and keep providing this amazing content and epic value. Today, we have the fabulous Danielle Davis, who's been in business since she was 10. She's now in her mid-20s, working in the Army, and is a business coach and a nonprofit coach. Danielle, how are you today?
I am better than good. And yourself?
It's kind of an day, but as soon as I hopped on here with you, it got immeasurably better.
Excellent. Good to hear.
Danielle, why don't you go ahead and give the listeners a little snapshot, a couple minute download of what it is that you do. There's a whole list up here on my page, but it'd probably sound better if you told us.
Well, I am essentially a business analyst with a heavy background in technical writing and finances. I'm also a certified grant writer and peer reviewer for the Department of Justice, meaning I'm one of the people who go through the grants at the federal level and determine or not whether the Department of Justice grants get funded. And so, sorry to cut you off, but what I do is I help streamline businesses and nonprofits the fastest way to profits. And the core emphasis is with business development, operations, and technical writing. So we combine those three things in order to make sure that you have minimal profit and productivity leaks, and again, as profitable as possible, because I believe a lean business equals fat profits, and that's what we all want.
Lean business equals fat profits. I definitely like that. On our pre-interview, we had talked quite extensively about the grant writing process, the legal and financial framework, and the actual startup piece. And I understand that you are a pro at taking that idea and getting the ball rolling from square one. So my listeners out there that they have this great idea, but they haven't yet done any of the paperwork, what does that process, what do those steps look like?
So even before I even agree to that part, I try to encourage people not to start nonprofits just because there has to be an actual need for it. And so you don't want a big overlap within your community. So aside from just doing a name search when we're going through the paperwork to make sure that somebody else doesn't have that name in the Secretary of State, I also make sure that somebody doesn't have the exact same nonprofit, because it makes more sense. Instead of having 5 struggling nonprofits, you can have 2 to 3 that focus on the same thing because there's strength in numbers, right? So to answer your question though, I do a name search, and then we get the EIN, Articles of Incorporation, and we do the bylaws, and that's the initial part. And once that part is done, I encourage nonprofits to get tax exempt status, and depending on their budget size, if it's under 50,000, then they can do the easy form, which takes approximately 90 days to get an answer back. But in most cases, they want to file the 1023 standard form, which is $1,000 and above. And so there's a big price difference with that. The easy form is $275, and the standard form is $600 for the filing fees.
That's perfect. Can you repeat the filing? The internet went wonky. The form numbers. You said the 1020 easy.
The 1023 easy form is for nonprofits with gross receipts of $50,000 or less, and the 1023 standard is a longer form, and that's $50,000 and above.
Oh, I gotcha. So hop on a Secretary of State website to search, do the name search, right? So anyone that's incorporating a business or a nonprofit has to go through there and see what names are on file. If the name in your head is open, then you at least have a good shot there. That only takes, I know in Oklahoma, that only costs like $100, but it's going to have it's going to differ by state. The EIN, Employer Identification Number from the IRS website, sounds scary, but it only takes you like 10 minutes to get. And I think there's a phone number you can even call to get that set up. And then you need a bank account, if I'm not mistaken. And you mentioned the Articles of Incorporation. What else do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm not sure. Be more specific. What did you want to know more about that?
So the people that don't know this process, what does that mean, the Articles of Incorporation? What are those?
That's just a legal filing to incorporate the nonprofit, just so it's not like a sole proprietor business. It's what makes it a business. And I emphasize the business part because even though it's a not-for-profit, you still make money. The difference between a for-profit and nonprofit is the way the accounting is done and who it benefits. So in a for-profit business, it's the stakeholders, i.e. the owner founders who benefit. And with a nonprofit, it's the public that benefits. But you can still make a great salary running a nonprofit.
Absolutely. So, those listening out there, we've got the 1, 2, 3 steps on how to get that done, what forms to file. Most people just jump up to the $600 level for the 501c3, so they never have to go back and do the paperwork. I understand that 275 or 225 doesn't count towards that 600 later if you need to step up. So most just opt for the 600 straight up front. And that's perfectly okay. But the biggest thing that she pointed out was make sure other people aren't doing the same thing that you're trying to do. I talked to another gal this past weekend who is under a financial bubble of another nonprofit. And what they did is just created a different program off of their main tree trunk, a branch that covers what they want to do without having to go through the process. I'm not saying do it or don't do it. I'm saying search, see what's out there. Maybe you'll find someone with the same heart that you have that's doing something close or something similar, or is looking to expand their program base, and they can do that by adding you under their umbrella without having to have you do all their own paperwork. Plus, you already have a team in place. They've already got funding. They've already got a staff. They've already got backing. They've already got supporters. They've already got an email list. They've got all the things that you need to get organized to help kick this off right, which means less work for you, and you can get started sooner, and it's easier because you got a team already working there with you. Now, I understand, Danielle, that you also do the legal and the finance piece. So brand new nonprofits, what do they need to know about legal?
There's the basic stuff like intellectual property when it comes to like trademarks, copyrights. You also want to make sure that you follow the state and local nonprofit regulations. In some instances, like I had a client come to me, she had a for-profit business and she wanted to turn that into a nonprofit. And essentially she wanted to become an endowment. So she wanted the grants and donations to pay for her, what she had originally as a for-profit product. And she wanted to convert that and give that same product to schools. And when she had given me her budget and everything, she and her husband wanted to make $80,000 each. So essentially it's like she wanted to use the nonprofit as a front, which doing so would take away, would violate the 501c3 and the state laws and regulations for that. And not even that, just on a federal level as well. You can't do that. So there's rules about converting nonprofits to for-profits and vice versa. So you have to be mindful of that. You have to be mindful of how the funding in general is being moved. That's why you have to file a Form 990 every year to the IRS. And you also have to be mindful that every dollar is accounted for. And you can't just, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't just do whatever you want with these dollars. Most of them have, your board has to decide on bylaws, and you choose what you do and do not spend money on and why. And when you become a nonprofit, you as the founder don't have sole control over it. Now, is your board probably going to go with what you want? Yeah, probably, especially when you're young, early in the nonprofit scene, it probably makes sense. Chances are no one's getting any kind of paycheck, and that's just how it goes when you're young. But they have to determine if they want consulting from Danielle and her services. They're going to have to decide as a board if they want to pay for that service. If that's the thing that they want to do, because they have laws, rules, and regulations that they have to follow. You can't just go ahead and do whatever you want. If you decide you want to pay volunteers, that's got to go by your board and get approval. What do people have to consider for the financial side other than accounting for every dollar?
Actually have an accounting system in place. They can use something like Wave or QuickBooks, FreshBooks, just making sure that when they have separate accounts, so funds aren't commingled. So that's one thing. Or actually, that's two. So setting it up as far as like the actual system. Then even going back to the system, whether it's going to be cash-based or accrual. So say you have a pending donation come in. Do you count that as incoming money or money that you have? Something like that you have to take in consideration. Also, when your funding year starts, say you start your nonprofit in March, do you want it to go based off the calendar year, or do you want it to go from March to the end of February the following year? And that's just like an accounting piece that you have to consider. The other thing is, I lost my train of thought with the accounting. So making sure that cash donations are accounted for, and then if you're 501c3, making sure that you are reaching the proper limits and making sure that those people actually receive tax exemptions. Mm-hmm. Making sure that you're aware of that, and especially when it comes to the fundraising process, like how you go about collecting cash and making sure that's all accounted for and not going into people's pockets.
Absolutely. That's not something you want to let slip through the cracks. But speaking of funding, you are, as far as I understand, kind of a grant writing guru. It's something you really enjoy, you really rock solid with. And I understand you have some steps and some tips for our listeners. If they're looking to get grants in the grant writing game, what should they do?
It's positioning is one of the most important things when it comes to grant writing. And something that I believe in is you should be a friend before you need a friend. And I raise that because a lot of times in grant applications, there's a match requirement, whether it's in kind or a cash donation. And so say you have to come up with 25%. If you don't have that in your budget and you need to reach out to the community, you don't want to be doing that in the middle of an application, especially if you're brand new to them and they don't know you from Adam or Eve. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, it's important to reach out to the community, small businesses, and even corporations, and let them know of your mission and make a partnership. Don't just make it about, hey, I do this thing, you should give me money. It's how can we come together? And so that's why I say, be a friend before you need a friend. That way, when those certain grant opportunities come up, they're already ready to give you the money, or they're all ready to contribute in some way, because it doesn't always have to be cash. Like in-kind donation could be if you have a nonprofit and the focus is workforce development, and you know people who do resume writing or career building, or even if you have a local business that sells business casual clothing, they could donate some of the clothing to the members of or to the benefactors of the nonprofit versus having to go out of pocket for it. Mm-hmm. But if they don't know who you are and you're like, hey, I need some suits for so-and-so, they're going to be like, well, here's how much they cost.
Exactly. Very important. I love that. Be a friend before you need a friend. That Absolutely. Sounds like it's t-shirt worthy to me. I love it. I just talked to a young lady earlier today. She was interested in some business stuff. She's looking to get out of the Navy here before too long. She was talking about what she needs to do in the business world, and the topic of networking came up, and she just didn't understand, like, what is networking? That sounds weird and dumb. And if you've never done it before, you're like, it's just a bunch of people standing around talking. Like, why would I get involved in that? And part of it was, I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers, but together we might know someone that can connect us to the person that has the solution. So it doesn't matter if you're in business or if you're in the nonprofit world or whatever it is that you're doing, networking and meeting people. And it's not just like, what can you do for me? Like when I go to networking events, it's how can I provide value to you? How can I impact what it is that you're doing, your dream, your vision? And then as we build a relationship, there might come a time where I need somebody or I have a question. And because I've built a relationship with Danielle, I could say like, hey, yo, Danielle, what's that thing you were talking about with grant writing? I've got a client. I don't know a lot about grant writing, but I know you're thebomb.com. Like, what should I tell them, or should I just pass them along to you? And then because we've networked and we've built that relationship, now Danielle can either tell me the answer, give me the advice, or I can pass along the person that needs a hand to Danielle, and then everybody wins. The person that I'm talking to has a problem. I've connected them to the person that could help solve their problem. Both people benefit. And they also know that I'm a good guy and they like me. So that's networking.
Yeah. And there's actually a quote that I want to get trademarked, and it's build rapport and you'll never be poor.
Build rapport and you'll never be poor.
Exactly.
I like that one too.
And then, to further answer your question about other things with networking, particularly with positioning, you want to have a solid mission that's clear. You can't just say, I do this thing and help these people. You have to make it so it tugs at the heartstrings and therefore opens wallets.
Heartstrings open wallets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do that because everything is emotional based, even when just a regular business, and not regular business, but even just with like for-profit businesses, people buy from people, which again, emotionally based, because they connect with them somehow. Sometimes people just buy things that are needs based, but at the end of the day, what makes you unique versus them buying the same product from somebody else is how they connect with you. It's not a matter of who they saw first. And the same thing goes along with nonprofits, and same thing goes along with grant writing. You have to appeal to the funders.
So do you recommend that someone in the nonprofit world that's looking for grants, how do they find grants? And do you recommend that they run themselves or hire a grant writer?
It depends on their background. And again, it depends on how solid they have the business development. I always recommend they have a business plan, and you can just do a simple one-page one based off of like 9 key factors. Or you can do a full-on business plan that's anywhere from like 5 to 20 pages. But if you want to start with something simple like a one-page business plan, go for it and build from there. But as far as who to hire or when to hire a grant writer, I think if you're in the 18th month and beyond stages, and you've been running it steadily since, and you really need that funding coming in, I definitely recommend outsourcing it. Because your nonprofit can't survive off of donations and fundraising alone, nor can it survive off of just grants. Because the grant writing process takes anywhere from 3 to 12 months to get funded, and that's if you're funded.
Oh yeah, so absolutely.
You almost have to treat grant writing like a lottery. You don't know if you're going to hit it.
That's definitely true. But I've talked to a few grant writers in my time, and it's interesting to see how they look at the process differently from someone that just has a nonprofit. And my listeners in the nonprofit world, you're looking at it and you're debating on paying a grant writer $250, $500, $1,000, $2,000 to write 1, 5, 10 grants. And you got to understand, you're going to the pro, the person that does this on a regular basis. It's their job. They've seen hundreds of these things. They go through them. They submit it. They know the process. They know those things. You might be able to do some of your own plumbing. You might be able to, right? You might even be able to do a water heater. But are you going to replace all of the plumbing in your whole house? You're probably not, right? You're probably going to go professional. You want to make sure it's done right. You want to make sure you leverage your experience, the license and bonding, all those things. And in my estimation, it's the same with the grant writing process. You might get lucky and get a good shot or two in, or you might just be spinning your wheels. If you are in the early stages of nonprofit land, you are busy. Chances are you're the janitor and the CEO of this thing because you've got your Uncle Bob on the board and he's busy, and you've got two of your friends on the board to call it a quote unquote nonprofit, which may not be the most up and up area, but you're doing most of the bulk work alone. You're going to have to find time and off ramps and money to say, hey, I need someone to take care of this. I need someone to take care of this. And grant writing, when you really need that money, I think you're going to want to go to a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then it's one less thing that takes off of your plate. If that's not your zone of genius, that's not your lane, it's always best to outsource. And not just with grant writing, but anything you do, whether it's web design, whether it's fundraising, whether it's setting up systems, automations, workflow, you always want to outsource what you're not good at, because then you'll be stuck at it. Something that could take an expert 1 hour would take you a month to finish.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you bring up the website building stuff, because I had set up a blog for Warriors Wallet, warriorswallet.com. It's still up. It's there. It's fine. But for the nonprofit architect, I was going to do it again, but I wanted something a little bit more advanced, a little bit more fancy, a little bit something different. And so I thought I would get this thing rolling, and I got the domain, I got the WordPress, and I am stuck. And I've been spinning my wheels for months on this thing. And to be quite honest, I've been busy with other things. I didn't think I would be this busy. I've been busy with a lot of other things. Work, first and foremost, connecting with wonderful people like Danielle, running this podcast, and being deployed in the Middle East. But I had to break down to my team and be like, hey, I can't do this thing. Can't do it right now. It's like being a 5-year-old trying to hop on a space shuttle and fly to the stars. It's not the experience that I have. Can you take this over for me? And they're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about what it's going to look like and what you want it to do. We'll get working on it. And it's something that they do all the time. I wanted to learn as part of the process, but it's going to have to be another time for me to learn that thing.
Absolutely. And that's the other part of positioning. So when you start your nonprofit, you see that there is a need. It doesn't overlap with anybody else within the community. You got the perfect name, you found a name for it, and you did everything else as far as setting up the entity right. You want to make sure that you have the right board members, the right staff, and or volunteers, because you don't want to just, like you said, grab your Uncle Bob and a few cousins to have the board in place, and then when you actually need them, they're just warm bodies and names on paper. You need to actually have a fully functional nonprofit. And so the vetting process is very important. And you need to figure out, essentially by doing a SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You do that with your board members to see what kind of people you need and or to see what kind of people you already have. And then from there, you can move forward and kind of tweak things around so you have the great people surrounding you. You know what I mean? To really get this thing off and running.
What do you recommend for a size of initial board?
I would recommend anywhere from 5 to 7 members.
Yeah, there's no rules, right? Listeners out there, you can have 4, you can have 40, right? You can do whatever you want. But if you can get a good core group of 5 to 7 people with a few different skills, someone that has a business with money they're looking to invest in a nonprofit so they can help wave your banner. If you have someone with vast amount of connections and deep roots of the community, can you leverage their connections? Fantastic. If you have someone with a law background, you might have to pay their firm for their services. They might not be able to donate them. Same with the CPA, they might not be able to donate them, but you might have to pay for those things. But you here?
I'm here.
Did it shut down for you?
It did.
We're still recording.
I missed like the last, I don't know, I'll say 10 to 30 seconds.
Huh. That's not happened before. I don't have like a box loading, so I think it's still in the same recording. Sorry, Michael. Got a little bit extra work on this one, buddy. So I'm going to go back to the board makeup.
Okay.
But instead of me talking, I'm going to ask you what an ideal board might look like.
Okay.
So Danielle, I haven't had the chance to ask any of my guests about the board itself. What do you recommend for a board composition? What kind of attributes are you looking for the board members, especially in your first board?
I would definitely recommend not having people who are directly involved with political parties, whether on the state or local level, just because sometimes people use nonprofits as a segue to advance their political careers. So that's one thing I would be mindful of. I would be mindful of people who aren't already overextended. And again, wanting something just to look good on a resume, you want people who are actually involved, to treat it like a part-time job, somebody who could dedicate a good 10 to 40 hours per month on it. You also want people who are logical and not emotional based, where they get too caught up in in the feelings department. You know what I mean? You want people who can sit there and be grounded. And I think that's very important because I've sat in on a lot of board meetings, even helping my nonprofit clients set up and pick these people. It's it's always interesting to see. I'm like, that one, definitely not that one. It almost feels like a jury duty panel.
Yeah, yeah.
And you kind of actually have to do that when you're picking your board members. Some other attributes I would find, again, when doing a SWOT analysis for your nonprofit, well, looking through their resumes, what kind of skill sets do they have? Do they have an IT background? Do they have a human resource background, finance, legal background? That's important too to carry over, to help with all the hats that need to be worn within a nonprofit. So I think those are the big three things that I would look out for. Not a political affiliation, not overly emotional, and what are their strengths and how they contribute to the mission.
Yeah, actual skills, right? We had I've been on the board of two wonderful nonprofits, and the biggest thing from the day-to-day board composition, the thing that I really, really loved was having a strong, organized secretary. That in and of itself is huge value. Someone that's actually taking meeting notes, that actually follows up, that actually shows up, all of those things. I think your board secretary is one of those linchpins you need, in addition to all of the stuff that Danielle mentioned. But people are going to have their different values. They're going to want to donate their time, talent, or treasure. On a board, you're going to want to leverage their treasure and their talent.
Mm-hmm.
If their talent is connecting people, that is a fantastic thing to have when you're trying to figure out, where can we do an event? Where can we meet people? Where can we find volunteers? Who do I need for this? I need connections in the media. If you have a connector on your board, you are going to be very happy with your choice. If you have someone that's not singling out single moms, we have a single mom with 3 small boys, and they walk in and they seem hurried and rushed, they might love you and you still love them, but they might not have time for your board and your vision. And that's okay. That's perfectly okay. You don't have to say yes. Be like, thank you so much for your interest. I still love you, girl, but I'm going to need more time than I think you have. And we'll still connect later on other things, and we'll go check out, the movie this weekend. No big deal. But ensuring that they have the time for you is very important. I've been talking to a lot of nonprofits recently about whether a board should or should not donate to the nonprofit. And I'm under the opinion, this is just Travis's opinion, that if they're not supporting you with their treasure, with their money, some capacity, I'm not dictating that, then do they really believe in your board, your mission, your vision? And if they do, right, and they do donate, it is so much easier when they give the ask to other people and they say, join me, join us as we support this vision, this nonprofit, this mission, and help us impact this group of people. Join me is a fabulous and fantastic ask, but they can't use it unless they donate.
Exactly.
So I understand you're in the process of a rebrand right now. So we're not using your current business name, and that's fine.
Yeah.
How can our audience connect with you?
They can find me on social media. I am Danielle D, and it's IAMDANIELLEDEE. Or they can connect via email. My email address is deluxeconsulting@gmail.com. And I'm in the process, because of the rebrand, I don't have my website up, but I have an older website. It's dclsllc.com.
Fantastic, Danielle. And how can we help support you?
Well, I'm always taking on good new clients, and sharing always helps. So any of my social media, if it speaks to you, go ahead and share it out. Friends, family, colleagues might appreciate it as well.
Hey, thanks for a great interview, Danielle. Love having you on the show. Love connecting with you further, and can't wait to speak to you down the road. Thanks so much. You have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
That's it. That's the show. What do you think?
It's still recording.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. What if we say some really cool stuff, then I can have Michael throw it back in the episode?
I don't feel like I answered the questions good enough, and there was a part that I missed. So after establishing the initial part of the nonprofit, you still want to apply for a DUNS number. You want to build business credit for your nonprofit. You want to create a SAMS account. You want to create a grants.gov account. And you got short-term, long-term goals. That
So we
stuff
can do it. It's still recording. We can do that right now.
Okay, so yeah, so having that in, making sure that you have programs developed.
So after the articles of incorporation, what else do they need to do?
So apply for a DUNS number, create a SAMS account, which is free, grants.gov account, those are for federal grants. And you want to write out your short-term goals, your long-term goals, create a business plan. You want to develop your programs, develop an operating budget, and write out standard operating procedures. Mm-hmm. And after that, you can start seeking out grant opportunities. It doesn't mean applying for them necessarily, but you want to see what grants are available. So again, position yourself to see what funders are looking for, and looking to see what's in the announcements can help fill in the gaps.
What's you said, like a DIMS number and a SAMS account? I've never heard about those before. What are those? Is those acronyms? How do you spell those?
So a DUNS number is the Dun & Bradstreet, and it helps establish business credit. Essentially, it's like in a social security number. So there's an EIN, and there's the DUNS number, which is like another social security number for your business. And that's important when both the DUNS number actually and the SAMS.gov account, which is Systems Awards Management. Both of those are important when filing, or not filing, but when writing for grants and government contracts, which a little fun fact that is not very well known, nonprofits can apply for government contracts.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so in order to be in position for that, you need to have just at the bare minimum DUNS number and SAMS.gov account. And again, having business credit is great for a nonprofit just starting out. You want to have cash flow to cover the expenses. You don't want to just get the credit and then be in debt. But it's great for if things are up short, or if you want to put things on a vendor's account instead of having to go out of the operating budget right away. Then you can put it, finance it essentially. Again, don't necessarily recommend that. Talk to an accountant first, or a financial planner. But yeah, those are great ways to get funding in, aside from grants.
You see, and that's why we keep recording.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, because I was like, there's a bunch of other stuff. There's like social media stuff that you want to set up. That's all part of the business development part.
Yeah, I've got some of that on some other episodes.
Yeah.
How to shore up your social media and some different things.
Yeah.
So cool. How are you feeling?
Nervous still. Like I said, I don't feel like I answered the questions as best as I could. I kept thinking about my little picture in the corner and like, I'm on camera. Oh my God, I'm on camera.
What you can do, if it bothers you that much, is you can tape a sheet of paper over yourself.
Yeah, and then just focus. I think I know though. It doesn't help that the recording is in the top corner and I can see it's like, this is what I'm saying. Like other people are going to hear this, or I don't know. I just got to get used to that. It's just, I got to get over myself. That's all.
Why are you so nervous? You do great stuff.
I don't know. It's something I've been trying to figure out for years. And I got
You,
people who are constantly bugging me to do more podcasts or even start my own, or, to be on video more and share these little tidbits on video and then upload it.
I got to be honest with you. I'm not the hugest fan of video. I'm not currently satisfied with the way my body looks.
Yeah.
I'm not, right? This thing is, my computer is up on a case of beer box right now. So
Well,
you
that's
don't get
that.
the angle of my double chin action specifically for that. Not
Yeah.
kidding. Not kidding at all. Um, you mentioned in the pre-interview about imposter syndrome,
Hmm.
and I have a story for you.
Okay.
So I flew out to Austria to meet with a friend of mine, Stephen Eugene Kuhn, Kuhn. You should definitely follow this person on social media. He's just legit. He's a veteran, got out of the army and stayed in Germany. He was there, at the Berlin Wall when that was a thing. Um, and he got into business coaching. He got into business coaching, and eventually, like last year, he made like 650,000 just from a laptop in his house. But he got flown to Austria to do this keynote speaker deal at a hotel conference. He's not into hotels. But so I was like, it was over Veterans Day. I was like, I'm gonna fly out and see you. He's like, yeah, come on out. I was like, I will. He's like, do it. I'm like, doing it. And I flew out there and had a good time with Miss Net. And he does this thing called coaching through osmosis. So we went out and we went and visited one of his clients. We drove like an hour west of Austria, Vienna, just gorgeous, gorgeous, the countryside of Austria. And we went and talked about some things, and he was speaking not English. So I was like, oh, this is great. We ended up going back to his place in Budapest for like 4 days. And we eventually got talking about some different things. And he got something in the mail from Baby Bathwater Works. It's this organization. It's like a mastermind type of deal. It's a $20,000 a year membership. So this is CEOs, this is people that are in elevated positions, and they go to these things and these events. He's a very calm, rational, inviting person, and everything he says with confidence, a lot like I do, whether I feel that way or not. I'm like, it's coming out with confidence. And he said one of the most surprising things for him is how many people there admitted to him personally that they have imposter syndrome. The CEOs of multi-million and multi-billion-dollar corporations don't feel like they deserve to be there. They don't feel like they deserve their paycheck. They don't feel like some of them are very nervous about some of the decisions they're making. They all feel that same way. So know that if you're feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome, that's because you're pushing yourself to do better. And that you gave an interview today, and your next interview is going to be at this level. And the next interview is going to be at this level. And the next interview is going to be two little guys walking around the bottom of your screen. Hi, Mom. How are you doing? I'm doing great.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
don't feel bad for feeling like you have imposter syndrome, because everyone's got a little bit of it.
Yeah. It's not that I feel bad. It's just, it's frustrating because I know what I've accomplished, and, I have the receipts to back it up. I don't know. I think it's just certain things that I feel like I'm missing that, um, I don't know. I'm afraid that's going to take away from my credibility. And I know you had mentioned too. You're like, nobody's ever asked for my certifications. Nobody's asked for your such and such. Like you said, your client results and testimonials speak for itself. I don't know. And I think part of it too is I look younger than I actually am. Like you said, I was in my mid 20s. I'm actually 30. So
Whatever.
yeah, no, it's not a big deal. But it goes to show it's
I'm almost 40.
yeah. So
I'm 38. I'll be 39 this year.
yeah.
It don't matter. It don't mean anything.
No, it
So
doesn't.
the same guy, Stephen Kuhn, right? He's made millions of dollars in his life. Made 650 last year. He went to a conference in London. This guy's got an MBA from like Oxford, I think. don't quote me on that. I don't know. A major university in Europe. He goes to this thing and it's being run by 23-year-olds. And in MBA land, they teach you like three major ways to kind of run money as a thing, right? He said he went there and initially was like, oh, like the kids, right? He brought his notebook and all that stuff. And he's like, I'm not sure how it's going to work out. He says the MBA was the biggest waste of his time, his money, his energy, and his effort because there's 10 ways to do things with money. And MBA only taught him three of them. And these other guys that are in their early 20s that are making million and multi-million dollar deals already taught him the other seven. And he was so pissed that he's 52 and these guys that are less than half his age know this stuff and running circles around it. And he's so pissed that his big fancy MBA didn't teach him any of that garbage.
Yeah.
Age has nothing to do with anything. It has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, I mean, I do stocks, crypto, Forex, options, futures. And there's this young man, he's 12 years old, goes by the name of Truth Jones or The Truth. He's 12 and he's trading stocks. You know what I mean?
It's a skill that his mentor taught him at that age.
Exactly. So yeah, age definitely doesn't have anything to do with it. But I do think because I look so young, sometimes people question me.
Mm-hmm. That says more about them than about you.
It does. But I don't want my appearance to hurt any potential opportunities. But granted, I mean, if they're going to judge me based off of that, it didn't really hurt anything. It's the trash taking itself out.
It's the trash taking itself out. That's perfect. There was a big time in my life where I was worried about what other people thought of me. And then you know what I realized? What they think of me, it's none of my business.
Yeah.
I'm going to be me no matter what. You're going to enjoy it. You're not going to enjoy it. I don't have little feeling particles that when I say something, it smacks you in the face with it. And now you've caught the feeling bug, feeling angry, feeling sad, feeling whatever. There's no particle that does that. They self-generate their own feelings.
Yeah.
Is that a little crass? Yeah. But I know the kind of person that I am. By and large, very kind, very generous, very encouraging, by and large.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hold you accountable. People don't like that. And I'm okay with them not liking that. If they were doing it on their own, I wouldn't have to say anything. And if they get mad because I say something, that's their problem.
Yeah.
I'm not very nice, but I am kind of generous. I've been told many times. You're not very nice.
Same.
I'm not here to be nice.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't care if you like me.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't understand. It doesn't compute. Like, what do you mean you don't care if you like me? I hope you hate me.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And it just blows their mind. And I'm like, do you have any idea what I just did to you? And they're like, what? I'm like, this isn't a me hoping and doing things so I hope that you like me. You hire me to do a job. I'm going to do a job. And sometimes I'm going to have to jab you in the eye with something to make you understand or to cut through the BS. You may or may not like that I'm doing it, but you'll appreciate it later.
Mm-hmm. That's how I feel like as far as being a parent goes. My child has a really rare health condition, and I've been blessed to be self-employed all these years because there's a lot of times where she's had to miss weeks of school, or she has been out, like she was just out for a week this past year for having a minor heart surgery. She's had full open heart surgeries aside from that. And so
you have a smile on your face, so I'm assuming she's alive.
Oh, she's fine. She's back to her normal sassy little self. I call her a little shit all the time to her face. She answers to it. But
yes,
being
Mom.
self-employed. Yeah, exactly. Oh no, exactly. She's a tiny version of me, which drives me even crazier. But being self-employed helps. Yeah, exactly. Joke's on me.
Yeah.
But I homeschool her as well, so we have lots and lots of quality time. But the lifestyle that I live allows me to do that because of what I do for work.
Mm-hmm.
But there's times where I tell her, like, I'm not here for you to like me. I joke and say we're besties, but I'm really not your friend. I'm here to do a job, and that's to raise you so you can be a, contributing member of society kind of thing, which is like kind of cliche, but I just want her to be a good person as she grows, not just when she gets older, but now and later.
Yeah.
Know right from wrong and act on it. And it's my job to do so as her mother. And even situations arise where like I'll see her struggling, or like she won't want to do something. She's like, well, what if I mess up? Well, you're going to learn from it. Like, part of the curriculum that I'm teaching her is entrepreneurship, and she actually is one of my employees. And so as far as homeschool goes, one of the things we did was like home ec, and I break it down into like a science and math approach as well, and not just here's what we're cooking. It's
Mhm.
kind of like, where like making eggs is science in the sense that you have the fire, heats the eggs, and then it turns the eggs from a liquid to a solid, and all the elements that go with that. How does salt affect it? Not just the flavor, but how does it affect the egg? Little things like that. The nutrition breakdown, making sure that you get the right macros.
Mhm.
Little things like that, when you incorporate it when you incorporate it all together, it makes a big difference. So it's not just, oh, I'm making breakfast. It's, oh, I'm applying science and math with real life. And you
Yeah.
kind of have to take that approach with other things. How can you marry two unseeming things together?
Are you using terms like entropy and enthalpy to teach her
No,
how heat enters a system?
no, not quite yet. Not quite yet. I don't tend to use words I can't spell anyway.
I do it all the time.
I don't.
My my
Surprising.
my year of the word was assiduous, and I picked it
Assiduous.
because the first three letters are ass. And
Classic.
then after 2 weeks in, I always change it, and I change it to finish,
Finish. Okay.
because I have started a lot of things in my time and done well in a lot of things, but rarely do I truly finish. I'll get to a
Yeah.
point where I'm happy with it, right? But did I really finish?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My big word for the year, I guess, if I'm going to have one, is like accountability, and just like doing, and I think commitment's actually tied along with that, but just like actually doing what I said I'm going to do. Like, I almost canceled this interview at the last minute. Um, that's part of the reason why my bio came in late. I was looking it over and I hated it, but I was like, I got to send something. And I was like, worst
Mhm.
case, I could submit it, redo it. There's probably going to be time between when the podcast launches and, when it needs to be out there. But I was like, I said I would send it this week. Let me just send what I have and we could talk it out later. But,
And even
you
if it
know,
gets posted and you want to change it, you just let me know and I'll change it.
it can be changed. Yeah. And that's part of my thing too. I always, overthink what's permanent and what's not. And I think that's where my
So,
imposter syndrome comes in at.
yeah. So Stephen Kuhn, he does this like daily purge where he just flips on the camera and talks, right? And since I was there with him, I was being his cameraman. He usually he's like a metal thing on the side of his house, a magnet. He just sticks it to his gutter in the backyard and goes, doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we shot the video and I'm holding it and he's doing his thing, whatever video's over. I was like, yeah, just let me know if you want me to reshoot it. He's like, I never reshoot.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, really? He's like, it's good enough. I don't like it. I'll just do better next time. I don't care. It's done.
Yeah.
It's out
So
there.
it's
It's
like
done.
a stream of conscious brain dump.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You should really follow him. I'm gonna shoot you a link to him, which I think
Mm-hmm.
you should follow. And then actually I have an investor buddy, Chris Jackson. That he does a lot of futures trading.
Okay.
He's got his own little group thing. He's a veteran. I forget what his service he is. I always pick on him because that's what we do, right?
Of course. Of
Uh,
course.
but he's awesome, and I love them both. But let me get that stuff for you.
And then, is there anything that I could provide for you to make your business a lot easier?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not having anyone share any podcast episodes.
Okay.
So if you would like to share one, what you got out of it, like, wow, this is fire. I love the fact that they talk about this and this. This isn't being talked about and it needs to be. That would be wonderful if you could.
Okay. All right. And then, how do you feel about the way your business is now, as far as like um, onboarding, offboarding, communication? Do you feel like that's all pretty solid with your business?
Nope, not even close.
How would you feel if I did like a complimentary resource audit with no intention to upsell, just 100% to get in and show you where the profit and productivity leaks are?
Well, currently there's no profit.
Okay, well, that's a problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple people donating on Patreon. I've got a handful of T-shirts sold. I could call them and see what sold in December, January, because I haven't even asked them yet. But there's no current real income from this just yet. Working on it. Working on it with my team. We did a strategy session. We take my little thing here. Yesterday.
Okay.
Talk about the things that we are going to be doing. Yeah. So what would that look like?
Well, I would go through. So, like I was saying in the, I guess the get to know you call, my signature framework is create, convert, and cash out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I take those 3 phases just to see how to run things more streamlined and figure out, what's the, as far as your target audience is concerned, what is the best way that they learn and what's the best way that you deliver. And we marry those 2 together.
Mm-hmm.
So if your audience is really loving the podcast, keep the podcast coming. If they want something more interactive, or if they want something, how to repurpose what you already have.
Gotcha. So from yesterday, the talk that we had, and because I take notes, I just got to find the note page that we did. We're going to use, or not we, they, my team, right, is going to hook up the website build out that they're doing. They're going to use Headliner to take the best 3 minutes of whatever episode and make a little ad that's going to get put up $3 a day for 7 days on Facebook. They're also going to convert this. They already converted it into podcasts, and they're going to convert it into YouTube and take the video and make it good. And they're also going to convert it to text. So on the website, you'll be able to digest it however you prefer. If you want it just podcast, you get it on podcast. I think I'm on like 15 different channels. If you want it video, the YouTube's going to be out there. If you want it text, I'm going to have the text available to download. I want you to consume my content how you prefer to receive it. That's very important to me. I've got some topics that I'm going to start working on providing on my Facebook group. There is some of this just me talking about whatever topic on my group. And then it sounds like I'm going to put my first calls and my first unedited first calls and my full stuff on Patreon. So people that actually donate there will get the whole backstory. So if you want to see the behind the scenes of what a first call looks like, that's my way to put that on Patreon for paid content.
And then something else you could do if you're going to run ads is I would highly recommend investing in Tailwind and or Board Booster for Pinterest. Pinterest is the second most used search engine right behind Google. And with those 2 platforms that I had mentioned, or applications, I should say, with those 2 applications, you can recycle pins automated. And you can have, 5 to 10 different thumbnails, and it just recycles and keeps going and going. So it's in front of more people. And it's very low cost. It's like maybe $10 or so a month. And you could also have protected pins that will link directly back to your website or whatever link of your choosing.
Okay.
So you link it to your contact Patreon, go back to your blog, or like I said, wherever you choose.
Yeah, that's cool. I definitely am planning on setting up MailChimp and getting my email list in there and sending out at least, if nothing else, a monthly roll-up links to the 4 episodes, what they're about, what the future is looking like, and how they can support me.
Okay.
Yeah. The future, I don't know what date that is, but in the future, looking at selling ad space and giving them bundle packages where they can They're also going to get access, a shout out on the show on the air on YouTube. They're going to get a link. They're going to get a poster on my Facebook group and all that stuff. So, and then I also need to plus up my Facebook group because I think there's only like 130 people in there, and I somehow still hit number 4, even only having 100 people, actually in my group. So I don't feel too bad about that.
No, that's amazing. Like I said, you're doing great work, and I will definitely, be one of the first for that sponsorship package, and or ad space. I'm just trying to think of like other collaborations aside from the resource audit, how I could help. I don't know, because I just feel like there's a lot. So I always try to break things down into 3s. But just growing the social media presence is always big. Networking, like we discussed, both during the pre-call and the recorded podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one thing that I did too when I was for incorporating is I would go to the Secretary of State website and I would see everyone who had incorporated in the last month, and I would hit them up for business development and or to get their 501c3. It's public record. And so that's something that you could do as well.
So I had we have a Center for Nonprofits in Oklahoma City, and I was trying to figure out who was a brand new 501c3 or who was brand new incorporated. And between talking to them and talking to the person that does it in Oklahoma, like they couldn't figure out how to get that information to me.
Oh.
I don't know how to do what you just said.
Oh, well, I was, based out of North Carolina primarily. That's where my business and everything is set up at, and that's where I call home. I just go to the Secretary of State website. I search through the newly incorporated, and then it comes up as a file, and then I have to convert the file.
Share your screen and show me?
I'm on my phone right now, and
okay.
So
can you walk me through it?
Do you want it for Oklahoma?
I don't know. Show
So
me.
I'll
North Carolina Secretary of State.
Yeah. And it comes up as this wonky file, and you have to convert the file.
Okay, so what am I looking for here? Business entity search?
Yeah, let me see. It's easier for me to pull it up as well. But like I said, it is, and it provides the contact information, and you can cold call them.
If you can pull up the thing there and then shoot me the link on Twitter or Facebook.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Pull the link up. Cool.
I'll do, well, actually, I'll give you the step-by-step, so that way, and with the links included. I think that would be the easiest way to do it. So I'll write that down. Okay. So yeah, I'll go ahead and shoot that to you.
Okay.
And then did you get a chance to check out Airtable?
No.
Okay.
I have it here though, written down.
Yeah, I think you're really going to love it.
I have to figure out, I have the note here of Airtable. It's even circled. I'm not sure what exactly I would use it for, but I have it. What do you use it for?
When I work with clients, like I have a skeleton build out. Let me see if I can log in and show you. So I use it in combination with Google Drive, upload. Chris Jackson. So it's a combination of like Trello. It's a project management tool in combination with Excel. Um,
Okay.
yeah, let's see. That's the STEM nonprofit. Actually, I'll do. All right, so how do I switch the video? Here we go. Do you see my screen right now?
Hold on a sec here. Yep.
Okay, so right here, I was tasked.
What am I looking at? What is this?
So this is Airtable. I don't know if this helps better. So I was tasked a year or so ago to go through somebody's daily challenge. They did 30 days of content announcements. And what they needed me to do for every post, they needed me to copy and paste all of the what they wrote is the post and then the comments. So like I found a tool that I was able to link the comments, expand on the comments, and then copy and paste it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and I used Airtable to kind of organize everything. So this was the day. So we had the pre-day announcement, we had the caption and call to action, the attachments, which is the picture that he posted, and then the comments I had copied and pasted. It was all into a Google Doc form. So you could organize everything all into one, and it's very visual. And then the vanity metrics is something else that you can include, but you can customize all of this as well. So that's one way that's helpful. So if I wanted to like click on the picture for that day, I could see what it was. And they have it specifically, so that's that. They have it specifically for if you want for nonprofits or like STEM nonprofit organization. So when they come to me, I have how much what the project is, how much it cost, the category I put it into, the start date, the due date. In this case, the DUNS number, or no, excuse me, the articles of incorporation, how much it costs for that state, and then I put a note over here for them so they know the processing times, name availability, grants.gov, all the things that I would do for them. With the startup process, it would be like 11 things, and then it breaks down. I don't know if you can see like the categories that I put it in for them.
I can't see them, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, maybe I could take a screenshot and send it to you. But yeah, I organize it by category. Articles of incorporation, I put the project image. You know, so this is for like Arizona. I pull it up for them so they can see a blank form. And it all goes in their project lead. And again, you can customize this top part up here. You see where my mouse is going across, whether or not it's complete, check the box. This is great for, and then like that's the deliverable part that I have. And then the task breakdown. This is how it came already, but this is just like a sample. So
okay,
I have it marked down as like deliverables and then tasks, and then you could put out however you want to build it out. But Airtable is fantastic.
that's cool. I have another friend that clued me into my.workplace or workspace, one of the two.com.
Okay.
And it's set up just like Facebook, but
Okay.
you can section it out, right? So you can have like a welcome aboard for your team.
Mm-hmm.
You can divide it up like your team, your volunteers, and like your users, and you can have in their modules. You can load like training, like how to use Airtable by Danielle motherfucking Dee. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I do this? How do I do that? So as you
Yeah.
bring people on, it's like a free. It's almost like a free training platform. But you also can have a wall, and you also have private chat, and you can go into whatever group. You can go to the volunteer one, and the volunteer wall, and you say, hey, we're getting ready for this. This is the thing. Give me your feedback. If no feedback by this date, we're going to send it out. Everyone's going to share on their social media, things like that. So it's a great for coordination piece too for more than one person.
What's the benefit to that versus using Google Drive?
It depends on if you want have someone to have access to change your stuff or not.
Okay, because I know with Google Drive, you can have it as a read only, or you can have view. Oh yeah, so the view, edit, or all.
It's just the interface, right? Google Drive, you're just opening up folders. This one,
Yeah.
you can walk through, like, no kidding, modules of training, of workplace safety, or whatever you had in there, how to use Airtable, how to use Evernote, how to use, and then you can take those links and then you could sell those things. I think you're probably a Google Drive fanatic always anyway, so this might not really work for you. But then you have the coordination piece, just like Facebook. You would have Messenger, you would have the wall for people to see. Like, instead of taking something from Google Drive to send to a person to have access, they already have a login, and you just unlock a section for them, and then they can see the wall and they can see the stuff. And it's less manual stuff. Depends on what your organization might look like.
Okay.
Right. So they use it for reintegrating the prison populations when they reintegrate back into the civilian world. So they have, it's just two sisters, right, that run the whole show. But they've got this network of volunteers because they have an app and a hotline. So if someone wants to volunteer, they have to go through the how do I answer the phone call, the hotline service, right? And then they have to go through and they learn all the modules and the things that they have to offer and how they help connect people to them. But then it shows the bosses the things that they've done, right? The stuff that they have, right? So also they can put, like, the volunteers can go in there and put if they're unavailable for a time period because they're going on vacation or they're sick or whatever the deal is, right? But then also the people getting released from jail on the app, they have all the app services, the hotlines right there in front they can hit, and it calls. They have all the different services, so they all know the same information, but the volunteers can help them walk through there. So the way they've done it is pretty sick. I'm a big fan. I don't know how I would use it for me, but I would definitely recommend it to nonprofits so they can use it to help organize their stuff.
Okay. And what's it called again? I'm sorry.
Hold on. Oh, it's just the page right before yours. my.workplace.com. I think Facebook owns it. If not, it looks exactly like Facebook.
Yeah, I like the chat feature. With Google Docs, you could actually add comments, and it kind of it functions like a chat. And then I would also incorporate Acuity with that. But like I was saying with Airtable, you could have the links directly to it already in it. So that's where the benefit to that would be, where you could have like the written form, the video next to it, everything is up there.
Do you ever use Zoom?
I do, yeah. Mostly for international clients or clients. I've had prospects who, because I wasn't local, they're like, I got to see your face. And I was like,
yeah,
all right.
It's important.
Yeah, so I'll do that, so.
But the things that you're talking about, do you build training? Do you walk people through how to use these tools?
I do. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. The technical writing, it's mostly step by step and like SOPs. That's part of what I do. A lot of times, though, I prefer to just set it up for them and then just be on a retainer if they need help.
Right, but not all your clients are wanting that from you.
Right. So what you're saying is, like, if I just did it once and was like, "Hey, here's a step-by-step walkthrough."
Well, it's an evergreen, right? Once you do it, it has value forever.
Exactly.
You set it up on YouTube under a private link, right?
Yeah.
So where people don't have access to it. So then if they buy your coaching program or they're wanting to know how to step by step, they can't afford the one-on-one with you, right? But you'll give them a reduced price if you just give them the videos and a link for the questions, right? And that way That way you have an offer that you can give to them that is not so painful in the pocketbook.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that actually because I have a 2-part nonprofit checklist, and I was actually going to do that's my big focus this year is putting my knowledge into digital products. So that was
Okay.
one of the ones I was going to start with, is putting the nonprofit checklist into essentially like a course.
Do you have that as a PDF that you can give me that I can put in the show notes so people can have something to look at?
Um,
Can you make
Not
one?
pretty. Um, I have the checklist. It's literally just like boom, 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 for both part 1 and part 2.
You had mentioned something about the 9 steps or whatever for grant writing.
Oh no, that's for your business plan, for the 1-page business plan.
Do you have a 1-page business plan we can attach for my
Yep.
my listeners?
Yep. 1-page business plan.
I had someone that I talked to say that they were going to pay someone $6,000 to help them write a business plan.
That should be me. They can give me all that money. I'll take all of it. I don't even
Yeah,
care.
but it's
$6,000.
yeah, but they've got people. They hear something like business plan, they get scared. They
Of
don't know what
course.
it is, right? So if you make them feel good, they'll say, "Take my money and then do this for me."
Yeah, I've never charged that much for a business plan. The most I've ever, well, my current rate is anywhere from, it starts at $1,200 unless I do a sale. But that includes 4 weeks of on-demand coaching and consulting. So they're able to pick my brain for the 4 weeks too, while the business plan is being written.
Mhm.
So that way, because it's more of like a done with you business plan.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so 1-page business plan, and then you want the nonprofit checklist. Actually, I have it in Canva, but it's not pretty.
actually, make it pretty.
I don't know. That's not my lane. So I'll have to find somebody who can make it pretty. Well, I'll send it to you, and actually, you let me know if it needs to be changed or not.
You know what's funny about pretty digital products? Pretty doesn't necessarily mean they convert.
Oh no, not at all. But I haven't released it because I didn't think it was good enough. So, but yeah, actually, I did already do it. It's funny
You
that you
already did
mentioned
it.
that. Yeah,
Perfect.
and the 1-page business plan, um, I could I could just throw it into Canva and do something with that. So yeah, because it's just 9 steps, just 9 key things that you need.
Mhm.
You get and it's key things. It's really just keywords,
Yeah.
and that's the starter part. You know,
Mhm.
even when it comes to explaining, like the mission is one of the most important things, and I think I emphasized that in the podcast. Know your mission, and then find the people, and then find the supporters.
Yep.
And by find the people, I mean like that's like the first layer, the people you have that are going to help you run things. And then the supporters obviously are going to be in-kind partners, community partners, people who donate.
Cool.
Yep, yep. All
Thanks so
right.
much
So
for your
those,
time. I got to go to
no
bed.
problem. Yes, yes, yes. Right. Got a headache still. So,
Well, it's
anything
10
else?
p.m. It's
Yeah.
10 p.m. I got to
Oh,
get up
that's
at
right.
4. Yeah.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll stay in touch, and I will send you those things: 1-page nonprofit checklist, and then the step-by-step for newly formed nonprofits. I'll focus on Oklahoma. All right. Sounds good.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
All right. All right. Bye.
Bye.